Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we did our contract transfer, and that's absolutely great. We've got this craft heading out of Eve, it needs to go back home, and this one landed at Eve. Now we don't need to keep this around, it's just kind of cool. So we'll just go ahead and terminate that. And this craft, of course, is headed on home. So we've got our contract complete at this point. All we really need to do is return our Kerbals, and hopefully, by the time we get there, the contract system will no longer be obsessed with Eve. That would be nice. We're going to prograde? Let's just hold here for now. Okay, so we just need to return home at this time, so let's warp on out of here to Eve Escape. Excellent. So we are just barely escaped at this point, and we need to set our target being Kerbin. So now the question is, what would this look like? Also, we are good on life support, so that should not be a problem. We've got a decent amount of DV to return with. It's not a huge amount of DV. It's not just like an absolutely insane quantity of DV, but it's decent. Our timing is interesting. So we will be here and Kerbin will be here. Okay. So if we hopped down over this direction, yeah, this timing is pretty awful. So we would need to probably run in orbit, most likely. Let's see what it would look like out over here. Well, that's an inclination issue. We know that we need to have an orbit be done almost certainly at this time. So, like, if we were to push this out right now and just go for the transfer, yeah. So, we're going to be off on the inclination. I think we should just go straight to the inclination change here, get that done, and then go shopping for a new encounter at that point. So let's just go ahead and do this. We've got plenty of life support, so I'm really not concerned about the life support situation. Let's just align to the node. And we know that ditching this should be fine for our Communitron, but we also don't necessarily need the Communitron because we've got Valentina here to be the pilot. So that'll be absolutely wonderful. Let's warp forward 36 days to this inclination change. Why is this only going at 10,000x? Can we go a little faster, please? Thank you. I guess I'll manually warp it. Okay, now we're down to about 1 day distance, and I'll let it warp at a slightly lower rate. Okay, now it's going at 1,000x instead of 10,000x. I don't have an explanation for this. It's just kind of slow. Okay. Well, we're not very far away at this point. We're 2 hours, and this is absolutely fine. So it's going to be dropping us out of warp now, and we'll be going a little further. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. So this is going to burn the majority of the fuel left in these strap-on tanks, which seems absolutely fine. We're going to be throwing away quite a bit of the life support that's out here, but it shouldn't be a problem. And we can carry that for a while if we feel like we need to. Yeah, we could definitely carry it. I'm not too concerned about that. We'll be carrying a little extra weight, but it's fine. So about 3 meters per second to go here, and we'll just do... Sure, this is good enough. So that looks fine, and now we can start thinking about what it might look like to do a rendezvous burn. So if we did this, we can see, again, we're going to be pretty far off here. So if we gave it an orbit... Ooh, okay, that's going to be multiple orbits. So that means that this is moving quite substantially. We're in significantly different orbits at this moment, but... this is looking... Oh, that's interesting. Hang on. It was looking relatively close out over here. But that's because it was doing this flicker. Okay. It's not actually that close. Yeah, we're going to have to wait. Okay. That's actually pretty okay right there. That's much better. So let's just go ahead and grab the closest approach here. Where is that? There we go. And we can dial this in a little bit. Okay. Somewhere around here. Now, the periapsis here is 81 million kilometers, or rather 81 million meters. 81 million kilometers would be a lot further, but we're just going to dial this in a little bit more. That's now down to 30, and are we losing efficiency on that? Nope, it's okay. Now we're losing efficiency on it. So now is when we would need to make some changes here. Where did our apoapsis go? Or rather, a periapsis. Okay, here we go. This is actually 41 kilometers. That's kind of ideal. I like it. So let's just go ahead and get oriented for that burn. And yeah, we're going to be carrying some extra weight with us for a little bit here. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind that. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and execute this warp. And it's going to be a pretty long warp. So I will be back after this warp is completed. Okay, so here we are just about to the end of the warp. We've just got a couple more days to go. And we're going to want to hit this pretty accurately if we can at all help it. So that's going to be here in 50 seconds, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Now, I'm not going to stage here, I don't think. Let's double check that. Yeah, there's a lot of food here. There's a lot of water we don't really care about. There's a lot of oxygen on here as well, and we don't really care about that either, to be honest. So we're going to carry some dead weight here. This is mostly about the food, and I just want to get this burn completed, and then we'll do our coast, and we'll ditch those when we're much closer to Kerbin. So that'll be fine, and you can see that the game is very confused about our amount of remaining fuel. This is not actually remaining as it is. It thinks that we should have staged, and it's not wrong, all things considered. Our fuel is draining. This number is a lie. Ignore it. So that'll be absolutely fine for now. We've got about another 100 meters per second to go here. Okay. Now we've got about 10 meters per second, and we don't even see this encounter yet. So this is going to be very, very, very sensitive. Okay, 1.2 meters per second. I'm going to thrust limit us as we adjust this. Okay. So there is our overall position. I don't actually care about the technical position here. 0.3 meters per second is fine. Let's just get this rotated around. I don't care about the inclination. It's the periapsis that's really the only thing that matters here. So this is just going to be pushing out the periapsis. That seems absolutely fine. And I'm going to have this go to right at about 40, and we'll see if that hangs out correctly there. Sure, that looks good. So now I'm going to unthrust limit this. And which side are we coming in on? We're coming in on this side. So we want, at this point, to do a radial retrograde burn with whatever fuel we have left, which according to this is 683. That may or may not be accurate. That feels approximately right. So we're going to do a radial retrograde burn with that. And you can see this is already over it. So we're going to have to back off a little bit. Okay. Yeah, something about like this. And that'll bring us into a re-entry. That seems pretty okay. So we'll align for that burn, but we are going to be ditching these tanks before then. So I think we'll have slightly higher DV because our weight is going to be lower. We have dead weight right now, and we are deliberately carrying that. Okay, let's go ahead and warp forward to this burn. And this will return us to Kerbin. So, back we go. Fantastic. This should be Yeah, this will be putting us into around 40 kilometer. That should be fine. And we may end up having multiple aerobrake passes here. We'll see. But we will be captured, and it'll be absolutely fine. We'll not need any more fuel than this. So that looks fantastic. We've got about 50 more days on this warp, and we should be coming into Kerbin fairly soon, although I don't exactly know where Kerbin is right now. But we're definitely getting a lot closer. 4 days. Okay, we should now be zoning into the sphere of influence. Yep, we're now... Hi, Kerbin. Suddenly Kerbin. Okay, fantastic. So at this point, we've got a periapsis of still 41.05, so we didn't have any alterations from the warp. That's good. And we're going to commence this burn with whatever fuel we have left shortly. I'm going to be ditching the side tanks at this time, though. So let's get rid of those. Let's see, that's going to be one stage. Yes. Okay, side tanks are gone. So this is still reading 683, so that means that we had less previously than 683. Okay, noted. That should be absolutely fine. We'll be commencing this burn shortly to ensure that we end up being in atmosphere, or rather, that we end up being in orbit. And we'll be in a decaying orbit. We'll see how quickly it decays. I do want to bring down that periapsis a little bit with our remaining fuel, but we're starting the burn now. Excellent. So we should probably retract our solar panels. We're going to be hitting the atmosphere relatively soon, and I'm also going to retract our communitron. There we go. Okay. So at this point, we see that our periapsis is 37 kilometers. I'm going to save the remaining 18 meters per second for a surface velocity minus re-entry burn. And we'll see if this communitron survives or not, but we're not going all that fast. We really, really aren't. This is going to be a bit high on the periapsis, though. I'm going to start the burn a little early because I want to lower the periapsis a bit. That's all we got for fuel, and so let's jettison that, and let's return our capsule. But this may require multiple aerobrakes. We will see. We're a bit high on that periapsis. Probably should have targeted closer to 20 kilometers for that. We're in the atmosphere as of right now, and we can see that our apoapsis is dropping pretty quickly. The question is time to periapsis, and we can see that that's 1 minute 30. And it is going down. I brought us out of physics warp there to determine how quickly it's going down. Okay. So we see an overheat here, which is mildly concerning. This overheat is communitron, which is deeply unsurprising. I'm surprised it survived this long, to be honest. But we're slowing down a lot. Time to periapsis is actually going up, so we are not going to have to do multiple aerobrake passes. That looks magnificent then. In that case, I'm glad that we kept it relatively high and did not bring it down further. The only reason I would have been upset about that is if we had had to take multiple aerobrake passes. But no, we're absolutely fine here. So that looks good. We're still technically up over orbital velocity at this point, but our orbit is so skewed that we're definitely suborbital at this point. So that looks good. We're continuing to slow down pretty significantly here. And heat is, I think, absolutely fine. We're not going to experience any major issues. I mean, this thing successfully landed on Eve. If it can successfully land on Eve, it can successfully land on Kerbin. There's no real doubt about that one. So at this point, we're basically just waiting on it to slow down a bit more. We're not slowing down all that rapidly. We're still at 1900 meters per second here. We're about 30 kilometers up, so I'm not terribly surprised that we're not slowing down all that quickly. What's the ablator on this looking like? Oh, we've got plenty. So our ablation is no concern whatsoever. There should be no concerns whatsoever to this, all things considered. The only major concern is that we don't get slowed down enough, but I think we will. Like, we're already going down below 1,200 meters per second, and we're still 20 kilometers up. This is no problem. But it's definitely going to be a land landing, no doubt about that. We're flying high over the deserts, so there's that. 900 meters per second. We're going to be able to get our drogue chutes out fairly soon. Drogues are now safe to deploy, so we are 100% A-OK here. Drogues are out, and main chute will be safe to deploy now. Chutes will now hold us in the correct attitude. We don't need to have smart ASS on, and we can just physics warp down to the ground, and yet another EVE mission is in the bags. I sure hope that we're done with EVE missions. That would be nice. We've got a lot of money. We may want to just ignore contracts if we need to. But I would really like to get some contracts going for some of those, like, first orbits around Duna and things like that. That would be really, really nice to do. Okay, so we're at about 10 meters per second right now. We may have a little bit of heat shield litho braking here, but that's absolutely fine. I'm not terribly concerned about it. So downward we plummet. This is going to be in a nice little forest here. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, heat shield litho braking, but otherwise absolutely fine. So we'll go ahead and recover this vessel, and that will be perfect. So now, of course, we need to check our contracts and see what is available next. Hopefully we're done with EVE. Hopefully. But the game has been very obsessed with EVE lately. We don't want to do EVE stuff, to be honest. Not right now, anyway. We want to make we want to make an outpost on Duna. That's the whole point of this series. So let's get this loaded in. There we go. We got 6.7 science. Okay, sure. And we need to hop into mission control here. So let's see what we've got. Explore Kerbal. Docking on or around Kerbal. Okay. I mean, that's really easy to do. So we're going to grab that. And we're going to hop into the VAB. And I'm just going to create a couple of roller dockers just really, really fast here. So we're going to use like a remote guidance unit. This will be fine. And we'll put a docking port on it. So that's going to be under coupling. We're going to use like a docking port junior. There we go. And then a little bit of a tank here, probably. No, not that tank. A little bit of a tank here, probably just to give ourselves some room to work with. We're not going to actually put anything in this tank. So that's going to be empty. And then from there, we can put on like a battery, would be probably useful. So this would be like a Z200. That should be sufficient. And then we'll put some wheels on here. Rove maxes? Yeah, that should be fine. So we'll do... I'm wondering if... Yeah, that radial issue. Okay. We're going to need this to be mirrored, and I'm going to do one here, and I'm going to do one up here. Okay. I have no idea how the turning and the power radius of this will be. I'm not even going to bother saving this craft right now. We're going to launch it. It'll be auto-saved as untitled spacecraft, and that'll be absolutely fine. So all we need to do right now is get this down and off the pad, assuming that the wheels are set up okay. There we go. We're... Okay, yeah, the wheels are set up fine. This is not an issue. We're just going to get this down over here. And I'm just going to park it right over here. Okay, brakes on. And let's get it turned a bit so that it's facing like this way. Okay, there we go. That'll do. Now, back to the Space Center, and we're going to put another one of these out. And we're just going to dock them together. No big deal. So that's absolutely fine. We'll then recover both of them, and we'll get basically pure profit. I like it. Not much pure profit. This is worth like 9,000 C-bills, but here we go. Let's go. So at this point, we need to do another one. Perfect. And we'll launch it. Nothing too much needed here. Any moment now. Game is currently mildly frozen, but it'll get there. There we go. We could have turned it around in the VAB to have it be a little bit easier to work with, but it's absolutely fine. So I'm going to hop up over this way. Set this as our target. Turning on the brakes here just to make sure we're not going too fast. And just lining us up in the nav ball. There we go. And there we go. So there is our docking completed. Excellent. So that contract is done. We'll recover the vessel, which is both vessels now. And that's absolutely wonderful. Very, very simple. And at least it wasn't something on Eve. It was on Kerbin, which is moving in the right direction from Eve. So now the question is, what's the next contract? So let's hop into here, and let's see. It's Eve again. Okay. They want us to plant a flag on Eve, walk on the surface of Eve, and dock 2 vessels on or around Eve. Pass. So this expires in 3 days. I kind of just want to warp past that and see what it comes up with next. Okay, so we're going to need to warp to sunrise again. And one more time. What do we got? Explore Kerbin. Okay, so this is transfer crew between vessels near Kerbin. Okay, that expires in 2 days. Let's continue to try to get some decent contracts here. So that's 1 day and 2 days. Expires in 0 seconds. Okay. We good? It re-upped. It's the same thing. Wonderful. We could do it. There's no doubt about it. That is a very viable thing for us to do. Okay, it just keeps giving us the same one over and over again. Wait, this is in 1 second. Give it a moment. Yeah, it just keeps giving us the same one over and over again now. So let's go ahead and grab that, and we'll complete this one. This is just transfer crew between vessels near Kerbin. So we can launch some sort of a cheap crewed rocket, as long as it gets... Wait, was this on or around Kerbin? Near Kerbin. In orbit of Kerbin. Okay. I was going to check to see if we could do it on the ground like this, but no. So we would need a cheap orbiter. We could make a new one. I'm just seeing if we happen to have one available here. Not really. Okay. So we'd want to make a really, really cheap one. I'm going to do new here, and we would have any crew. Okay. So this is going to be very similar to what we did previously. I'm going to do a KV-1 Onion, and then I'm also going to put a remote guidance unit on it like that. Then we're going to put in probably a battery. That would be something like this. And then from there, we can put in our recovery. So that's going to be a Mark 16 parachute, and then we do some drogue chutes. So we don't really need too much here. That would be sufficient in theory. And then as far as the re-entry for this module goes, all we do is a heat shield here. So a 1.25 meter heat shield, and that's our return vehicle. So then we would do a second stage here. I'm just going to put in a, let's see, this would be in the category of this. So I'm just going to put in a T400. There we go, like that. And we're going to put in a Terrier, probably. Although, I want it to be like that. There we go. That'll do. So now we'll do a 1.25 meter decoupler, like so, and this I want to adapt up. So that would be the FLA10 adapter here. Nope, not that one. That'd be this adapter, and then this adapter. That adapts it up to Rockamax size, which allows us to do something like a big orange tank here. So the big orange tank is going to go down here, like this. And the question is, do we need a second one? Probably not for this payload. Probably not. All it has to do is get into orbit and have enough DV to do a bit of a rendezvous. So that seems absolutely fine. So all we should need here is a mainsail at this point. So the mainsail is going to be this guy, and how cheap is that? 25K? I mean, that's not terrible. It would cost us 50K overall to do this. What's our DV? Okay, this thrust to weight is really high. 2.49 thrust to weight. We should probably thrust limit this down to like 70% thrust. Yeah, something like that. So that seems a bit better, and then overall we should have plenty of delta V for whatever it is we're going to do. This will almost certainly get us up into orbit, and then we'll have, in theory, 525 meters per second for any sort of rendezvous maneuvers, plus we'll have what we have in the other vehicle, so that should be fine. We're just going to have to do 2 of these, so I'm going to call this the Kerbal Rendezvous Craft. There we go, and we'll save that. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we'll get this finished. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Aurelio, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.